Hey class, just wanted to describe the final week of the course, week 14, the readings and assignments. This week we're kind of just wrapping up, kind of reviewing some research regarding family therapy and couples therapy. So you have a couple of readings. You have 2 chapters in the Nichols book, chapter 13 and chapter 14, as well as the Sprinkle article here, just kind of looking at the efficacy of family therapy and couples therapy interventions. You'll see in the article there it does highlight some particular issues that are that couples and family therapy is particularly useful for. Is interesting to look at. You'll see that some of the things that it is particularly useful for are parent-child conflict issues, including oppositional defiant disorder, conduct disorder, as well as substance abuse issues. Oftentimes that does require a family-based approach for treatment. And then you will have to choose one from this grouping here of articles, just special considerations related to family therapy. Please do focus on the websites. There will be some focus on these websites for one of the discussions for the week. This is just something that you can kind of explore to look at a couple of different family therapy approaches that we haven't kind of dived into thoroughly within this course. These are all of these are very skills-based approach, very practical, a lot of interventions in these approaches can be very useful to treatment. 2 in particular, I'm familiar with parent-child interaction therapy and trauma-focused CBT. I'm sure that you've at least heard about trauma-focused CBT. It has a very, very good evidence base for the treatment of trauma in children, and it is a family-based approach. Parent-child interaction therapy is a treatment that is for younger children, typically with externalizing behavioral issues. It's a really cool approach where basically the therapist is training the parent on behavioral strategies and kind of guiding them through that in the session. Some of these other approaches like multisystemic therapy, functional family therapy, and multidimensional family therapy, those are very intensive approaches that are often used within what we call the IBHS services or home-based services that are like a higher level of care than outpatient therapy, oftentimes to keep the family intact and to avoid placement of children outside the home, for instance, often again for a lot of externalizing behaviors in children and parent-child conflict. Then lastly, we have the media section. The Family Secrets video will be a focus this week for one of your discussions. It just kind of highlights the issues that can arise from issues such as family secrets, just the kind of dysfunction that can come from things such as this and how to identify it, understand it, resolve it. So it's a really good film, so I hope that you enjoy it. And then it does say here, feature film of student's choice, which I will describe in more detail in a second. So that being said, we do have 2 links here that you can look at to identify a feature film that does highlight some family dynamic dysfunction issues. So view that and see if there's one that you've maybe already seen that you want to rewatch or something that you want to watch again. If there is a movie that is not on the list, just reach out to me. And, I'm sure that I would approve it, but just something that would be good to reach out to me first if you're not choosing one that's on the list. So first you're going to watch the movie, and then the second step, is that you're just going to address it through the 2 theoretical approaches that you used for your final paper. So essentially, you're going to provide an assessment throughout that through that theory, and then the second part of the post is going to be to provide some interventions that you would use with that family. So that being said, it will require some citations because you are going to be using theoretical approaches, which would then require you to reference some scholarly sources. This discussion does require a response post. The response post involves asking some questions to aid your student, provide suggestions based on your experience, just essentially provide some feedback that is constructive, not just based in opinion. So for the second post, you're going to be looking at the websites that I described earlier, and you're going to be choosing 2 of them to review. There is a note here that you are not required to purchase anything or create an account. I just simply want you to look at these websites to get a general understanding of these approaches. You don't have to have a thorough understanding of them. Of course, if you do want to kind of delve into them deeper, then you can feel free to do that. It's just not required. So then for your post, you're going to be describing the 2 approaches that you reviewed and then comparing and contrasting, preferably describing 2 strengths and 2 limitations for each of them. And then the second part of the post is kind of more related to the research that we looked at through the learning resources for this week. Just kind of, I want you to comment on some of the strengths and some of the limitations of looking at the research specifically to inform your work with a particular family. So you can identify this just generally, like how research is helpful or not helpful in working with families, or you can relate it to a particular family, such as the family that you chose for your feature film or the family that you chose for your paper. I just want you to be commenting on the use of research with family approaches. And there are certainly some strengths and limitations to it. Some of the strengths are that we know that it's been found to be effective. It's evidence-based. And all of these approaches in these websites are evidence-based approaches. The limitations, one limitation that I could see is, sometimes we can't do a cookie cutter approach because one particular family may not function well with something like trauma-focused CBT, where another family would. We do have to look at that particular family in terms of determining how we're going to work with them. And then this post does not require a response post. So for your third discussion this week, we're going to be looking at the Family Secrets video and kind of just doing a final check-in. For the first part of the post, you're going to describe the theory that was used and 2 different interventions that was used within the video. And so basically, what did you see happening? Was it structural theory, Bowen theory, narrative therapy, and identifying some specific interventions that were used as well. Then you are going to be reflecting on the film as well as the past 14 weeks within the class. And I just want to hear about just some of your thoughts about the film in general. So maybe it could be a two-part a two-part section here where you would describe your thoughts on the video as well as what your comfort level is at this point working with families and using theory. Hopefully your comfort level has grown throughout the course. That would be the goal, but there is definitely not an expectation that you're going to be 100% comfortable in working with families. That comfort level comes with time and with supervision and putting this into action. That comfort level will grow. Then for the final part of the post, again, we have the Widener shared case. And I want you to pick one of the theories that we looked at in the class and an intervention that you now think would help Anita. We've looked at Anita a lot, so now at the final point in the course, just kind of look at what you think would be helpful for this family. And again, this discussion does not require a response post, so you have 3 discussions this week. One will require an initial post and a response, and then the other 2 are just initial posts. As usual, the initial posts, for some of them are due on Thursday at 11:59 p.m. for the first 2 discussions. This one in particular is not due until Sunday. And then response posts are due on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. You will also have an evaluation of the course. I do very much encourage you to participate in the evaluation. It's great for me as an instructor to get some feedback, to know what's working and what's not working, and it's also helpful for Widener as a whole to know, what changes do we need to make to the course, if any. So, yeah, but it's been great having you guys, and it's been great getting to know you all and your work, and I think that you've all made some really great progress, and hopefully you feel the same. So, yeah, I hope you guys have a good week, and make sure to reach out with any final questions.